Hi, I'm Nox. Welcome back to Splat Interviews. Today I am joined by the Brian the Drummer. Uh, and I'm going to start off here with what got you into Splatoon?
But yeah, what got me into Splatoon? It's probably worth mentioning that I got into Splatoon like way back in Splatoon 1, which yeah, it's a bit old right now. So probably not, especially right now, not many people have played it, especially because it was like on the Wii U, which almost no one had.
Yeah, it was not a long-lasting console.
No, exactly, and even Splatoon was like the only reason I had a Wii U at all. So that says a lot already.
It
but,
does.
but so yeah, to nail down what got me into Splatoon, it was like I remember watching the game itself, and I should mention like before this, I was not like a shooter guy at all. Like I played quite a few like rhythm games, that kind of stuff. Like Guitar Hero was actually really fun. Um, but I remember watching Splatoon like footage of someone playing it, and like the whole concept of like using the ink, swimming it, and like the whole
Mhm.
movement with it, like it's so cool. So it just really made me want to try it out. And yeah, after like finally getting the game after the Wii U, I had to buy it for as well, of course. Uh,
Yes.
like they just trying it out. It was so fun to like move through, and yeah, I don't know that. So that's basically it. The like the whole movement, the ink, the mechanic, all. It's just really nice.
Yeah. Splatoon is definitely a very fluid game, which is also what drew me to it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And even in Splatoon 3, like I feel like they push like that like movement thing that they have like even
Yes.
further.
Yeah, it's a really nice change to see them make, leaning really far into the aspect of the game that typically draws people in.
Yeah, so like even just like if I'd never played Splatoon, I would probably watch and I would watch Splatoon 3 like today, and like you would just like watch some like top player like do some sick moves. Like I would probably go crazy as well. Like what?
Yeah, especially with how many like sloshers and blasters we've seen in the past little bit. Less so blasters now. But the sloshers, the flicks look so cool on stream. The movement looks so sick. They can take good advantage of squid rolls and squid surge.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much the surge, but squid rolls. God, the game is so
yeah,
fun to watch.
exactly. And they just push it so well. So I'm not surprised that this is what got me into the game into the first place. And but yeah, it's even nicer to see it's been pushing further and further.
Yeah, and what drew you into competitive?
I guess just it was just a result of me just being too addicted to the game. Because yeah, like I said, like before this, I just played some like a lot of rhythm games, that kind of stuff, just for fun. And even in Splatoon, like I didn't really plan on going competitive. I just
Mhm.
bought it because it looked cool. And I guess the main, well, not sure what you call this, but like the main changing point for me was like I played a lot with some people I found online, sometimes through skip parties, by the way. But
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, but there was like one guy, like particularly like Weasel, like I played a lot with,
Mhm.
and like eventually he asked like, "Yo, do you want to make a team?" Um, so of course, like at that point, like you don't know if it's really gonna be
Yeah.
that serious, but yeah, that's essentially how it started out.
Yeah, and what was your first team? I'm aware of what team you finished Splatoon 1 on, but I'm not sure that I know of your first.
Yeah, that's the same, Creme Fresh.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yes, yeah, it
That's
was literally the.
very impressive. That's wild.
Yeah, I do remember quite well that we actually made a tweet. I think that like when we disbanded at some point, unfortunately, like our
Mhm.
team lasted almost 1,000 days. I think we were like
Wow.
3 days off.
Wow.
We could have kept going 3 more days for 1,000, but we just like, oh, we're just gonna call it here just for funsies. But yeah, it lasted a long time, like pretty early into Splatoon 1 until like some time after Splatoon 2.
Yeah, I remember seeing you there for a while. Mostly I watched VODs of you playing on that. Because I liked watching Charger VODs in general, and you were one of the few people uploading a lot at the time.
Yeah, and even for that, I gotta say, like you can definitely thank my team for that, because I didn't have a capture card at the start,
Oh, wow.
but some of my teammates actually like gifted me a capture card like halfway through our journey.
My first actual mic was gifted to me by my Splatoon team at the
Oh,
time.
you too?
Yeah, my current one is not from them, but the one I used for a long time, the one I used at the start of my commentary journey, was a blue snowball that was sent to me by my team Ink Eye at the time. Followed up along with a noise canceling headset because I kept complaining about how loud my roommate was.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, I can definitely relate to that because like I can't honestly can't complain. Like the group of people I had with friends, like they were such good friends. So
Mhm.
it was a great start, and yeah, even like them setting stuff like this was just wow.
I mean, that I've found that Splatoon is, admittedly, I've never been a part of any other games community. I am usually a single player game person to an extreme. Um, but I don't know, it's such a welcoming community, and it's made it hard for me to want to approach other games because it's like, well, they're not going to be this.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I can't really like compare either because yeah, I haven't been as evolved as I was with Splatoon compared to other communities. But yeah, from what I can tell, like it's really clear.
Yeah. And so, kind of following up on that, if you'd want to list off your teams, feel free to. But I'm more interested in what have your mains been over the years and what kind of led to the changes typically.
Yeah, so well for teams it's pretty simple because yeah, CrimsonShadows lasted a while.
Mm-hmm.
I tried some stuff with other teams like Shikara. I played a bit with all cool guys too. But I guess the biggest thing is probably like Team Olive slash
Mm-hmm.
Girls Gaming after that. And from there on, kind of just a mix of pickups here and there. Like we had what's like bed emoji or sleeping
Yes.
emoji, whatever you want to call it. Like it's a little bit of a mystery still today. We
Yes.
had the usual guys. Yeah, that's
Yeah. I remember that you guys were playing with Volty for a bit and it was rat trap emoji or something like that.
a rap trap. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah. I mean, so what happened there is like we kind of just picked like an emoji that looks cool. Like we also had like the eyes emoji. We still use
Yes.
it. Giver,
I do know that.
like Giver and me still use it today, and the only reason for that is like it's like yo, this emoji looks so cool. It looks like HD. Like if you look at it in Discord, it actually looks really sick. Like it has like transparency going on and everything. It's like yo, this is so sick, and we just use it as a team name for like I don't know whatever reason.
It also throws off commentators, which is an added entertainment bonus.
Yeah, I'm sorry, commentators.
No,
I'm
no,
pulling up
that's
nothing.
fun. That's better than the low level team. That's ooh, can I remember it off the top of my head? I don't think so, but it's the German word for daylight savings.
Oh my god! I mean, I know
It's so long. It's so long.
like as a Dutch person myself, I know like the German words like they're pretty similar to Dutch. Sometimes they can get very crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the only reason they stick out so much to me is my first ever time on the mic, Little Squid League, first ever time. They were like the second team I had to figure out how to say the name of.
Oh my gosh!
Not as bad as there was, I believe this was an SOS, but there was a German team name. Yet again, I don't think they were from Germany. I think players just like torturing commentators for fun, which I respect. I think you should. I'm not against it. To be clear, I think it's good entertainment. But it was like something to do with German meatpacking regulations or something like that. I believe.
What?
Yeah, play low. If mid-level and low-level pickups, wildest names ever. Like the emojis from top teams, great, incredible, easy to say. Low and mid-level teams go, how can I make this commentator's day? Hard. And I think top-level teams should do that also, actually.
Oh my god! Well, I guess I don't feel as bad anymore hearing that.
Yeah, no. Throwing emojis at commentators,
Ugh.
pretty tame. They're ready for that now.
Okay, well, next time I'll make a pickup. We'll see what we can think of.
Oh no. What have I started? Yeah, back to my next question. What have your
Hmm.
mains been over the years? And if you can remember the reasons, why did they end up changing?
So probably definitely worth mentioning first is the charters, of course.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I saw the charters in Splatoon 1. The main reason for that was just I tried it out and was like, yo, you can kill someone across the entire map in one shot. Yo, that's sick. Let me try this.
They also had obscene kits in Splatoon 1.
True, yeah. I mean, the pre-nerf Eliter was just like blown out of proportions. That thing was crazy.
Yeah, shocking that it existed. You could tell it was Nintendo's first shooter.
Yeah. So that might have definitely played a role too. Although I should mention, actually, before the charters, I actually had a different main. I don't
Oh,
think many people actually know about this. But basically, I was pretty much casual at that point still. When I played Splatoon 1 for the first time, I eventually got drawn into like the Skullties, like the Jet Skulls and the Dual Skullties.
interesting.
I honestly don't remember why. It was literally like one of the first things I played. But I think if you look up, I might still have it somewhere. But if you see like the max ink that you painted in the game, which back at the time that would max out at 9s, like you couldn't go
Yeah.
higher. That's also a thing from the old times. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like of course you'll see on my list, you'll see Charter on the top, but I think you'll still see like even Jet Sculpture and Dual Sculpture is pretty high there.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's yeah, that's a little bit of an old main there.
Yeah. Didn't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, at that point I wasn't even recording anything. I couldn't even record anything, so
Oh, yeah,
I doubt
you
anyone
hadn't been
even
with your
knows.
team yet. You didn't have a cap card.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's such a neat like. No one knows about this pretty much.
And then after that,
Uh,
obviously E-Leader.
yes. So after that, yeah, the Charter era basically became,
Hmm.
which lasted for a while.
Quite a long while, because Splatoon 2, for people that didn't play at the beginning, sure did like Charger at first.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it ended up changing. I think the main factor is just like back in Splatoon 1, obviously I had like a very like casual approach to the whole game. Of course, like I tried to push myself to the limit, but my like thinking behind the game was like very much not like very like pretty casual.
Hmm.
Even if I do push my limit. And of course, over time that has changed. So eventually, it has more gotten to the point that like I'm more interested in just pushing my limits as a
Hmm.
whole. So like back in Splatoon 1, like I said, like I would just play just because whatever, or I picked Charter because of like yo, he can kill people from the other map, like that kind of reasons. And nowadays, yeah, I just really like try my best to win games, and
Yeah.
that really just influences my main picks right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to have influence your main picks as you go on. One of the shifts I found really interesting was when you moved over to Explo. Uh,
Mm.
because you were like the only person in the West really playing it.
Yeah, that's Expo is an interesting one. It's I feel like Expo was a little bit of a, I guess like it had quite a bit of potential in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, they didn't
If I
give it the
remember,
kits in 3.
yeah, exactly. And I remember as well quite well. Like there was like people about Zone Cup.
Yes.
That actually used to be like Melon had like a freaking 20 win streak or something. I don't even quite
Oh
remember,
my
but like
god.
this guy would literally win every Zone Cup, and I think it was at some point until like an Explo like Reigns kind of comp like ended up actually beating them.
Wow.
They still ended up losing, by the way, which was a bit unfortunate, but that's uh I guess it goes a little bit to show like the kind of potential it had.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it definitely was a solid weapon in Splatoon 2, and I didn't play a lot of it. The little bit I did play, it felt fun.
yeah, that's like it is actually a really cool weapon to play. Like you can just do stuff like so many weapons can't. It's amazing.
Well, in your hands it can. I don't think that's true for everyone.
I mean, it is worth mentioning. It is not an easy weapon though. It's
The 90s are
uh,
satisfying. I can't deny that.
true, especially like when you hit them behind walls. Like it's the best thing
Oh.
ever. It's like oh
Yeah, I was really hoping Tri-Stringer could fill the potential Explo mist, and they just poor Tri-Stringer. Poor stringers general.
yeah. I do still occasionally see like people in X rank, especially in Japanese X rank, that do it quite well. But when it comes to top play, yeah, you pretty much don't see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a couple high level teams that, well, one high level player I can think of that uses it, but no top at all. Erido uses it sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah, like you see glimpses of it here and there. That's but yes, Nintendo hasn't been too kind to it. Let's be real.
no, and it's also such a mechanically specific weapon,
Yeah,
which means that you kind of end up almost one tricking to play it. Which means then you have to have a team that wants to play around it. It's a whole. I'm sure you ran into this to some degree with Explo, where it needs specific things to work the way it wants to.
yeah, exactly. Like quite often when I do scrims with Explo, like it often revolves like getting specific weapons with it. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, um, so going back, maybe not in time, but like just in general, have you had like favorite tournaments you've played in, favorite sets that you really remember?
I mean, there's quite a lot.
I'm sure you've played in a lot.
I mean, by far the ones that I remember the most are LANs. Like LANs are such good
Yeah,
events as all.
I love
Like
lands.
one definitely worth mentioning is like the like Platinum Cup, which we ended up
Yes.
winning. It's like that's probably like the biggest win. Like since it's like one of the only times a Western team ever won against Japan on the LAN.
Yeah, that was
But
wild. I remember watching that live.
yeah, that was such a cool event.
It
But
was.
when I look at these events, like honestly, like the biggest thing for me is just like the LANs as a whole.
Hmm.
Because the thing is, like going to these lanes, like there's so many people that you know for years, and you just meeting them and just being there is honestly so cool. So when it
It
comes to
is.
tournaments, that's definitely one thing I remember.
Yeah. I I have very much so fallen in love with going to lands. There's actually one happening in the city I'm in July, which I'm so excited to get to go
Oh
to. And
yeah,
it's Gommel. It's at Gommel, which will be super fun. I'll get to watch some top level Smash. Not that I ever know what's happening when I watch Smash, but I like seeing people get excited. That's fun.
yeah. I'm not a Smash player myself, but I've seen like the hype get there. I can go crazy.
I went out to the last big house Splatoon was at and saw Amsa, the Yoshi player, win Melee, and I got told that that's a very big deal. So that's fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wish I would keep track more of Smash, but I'm just not a Smash player myself.
Yeah,
That's
same. I just
sadly,
have
but
friends that have played a lot.
yeah, but I've seen some stuff here and there, and like it
It's
is really cool.
exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just once you're used to watching Splatoon, everything else looks a little slow. Is probably the nice way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, this Splatoon is such a fast game. It's
It is.
it is hard. It feels easy to forget sometimes, but when you compare it, it's
Yeah, I've
yeah.
tried to watch other shooters and I'm just like, okay, but why has nobody exploded yet? Why has neither team gotten a crazy push off yet? It's been a whole minute. What do you mean I have to wait?
Yeah. Like personally, I even watched like a little bit of like Apex, like competitive here as well, here and there, and like like even compared to that, like there's such a difference. I feel like.
Yeah, the one I have watched a little bit of because once again I've had friends that are into it. I have a friend that plays it competitively, Overwatch. And like everyone's like Overwatch is a fast shooter and I'm like, is it?
Oh,
I
really?
don't
Is it
think
not that
so.
fast?
I mean, I well the only shooter I've watched or played is Splatoon, really. Um so my standards are wrong and I can acknowledge that, but it does make everything else look so slow.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't watched Overwatch myself at all, so that's surprising to hear. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Splatoon is just part of why Splatoon looks so fast is there are so many colors on the screen all the time and so many big on-screen effects and stuff. It makes it look busy even if it's a slow part of the match.
Yeah, true. Honestly, it's a whole skill in itself to like try and dissect all the information that's going on.
Mhm.
Like it might seem like a lot sometimes, but it's once you get the hang of it, it's very doable, I'd
Oh
say.
no, it definitely is. I've gotten a couple friends, not a lot of friends. I've gotten like one or two people into the competitive side of the game, or at least dragged them back into it in a couple
Yeah.
cases. Uh, and I think it's just so unique. I have one friend that will tune in to watch tournaments, but finds the game too overwhelming to play themselves, which is a really unique dichotomy,
Yeah.
which I can understand. There is a lot at first, especially. I'm sure neither of us remember the at first part that much, but at first it's a lot.
Yeah, like I even remember like trying to explain most like newer people. And like well, things like turbo bars, best zones are pretty simple, but even just the most themselves, like when you once you get into clan bits and that kind of stuff, like it gets crazy pretty fast already.
Clamblitz, yeah. I do wish we played more Clamblitz as a community.
True.
I think, look, zones is great, but everything is just, all the other modes are just elevated zones. Not always elevated. They're different zones.
Yeah, but personally, I don't mind the other modes at all either. But
I
yeah,
enjoy them. I was when I was commentating 20XX, I was a little sad that Rainmaker wasn't there. Because I personally feel that if you're not going to do an all zones tournament, you should include all the modes because zones and in tower control, in my opinion, play similarly. Teams that do well at one usually do well at the other, and that same thing kind of goes with Clamblitz and Rainmaker too. in my opinion, which could be very wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have a point to some degree, yeah. That is... I mean, I think the map problem is kind of also a factor, at least for Splatoon 3, because they could have been
Yes.
better, of course, but yeah, it would be nice still to see some more of it.
I got to commentate a tournament on SOS. I was commentating over SOS on Wednesday, and for once, I didn't have to commentate Mako Zones, and I felt thrilled. First time in years I haven't had to think about that map.
Well, yeah, there's no escape from Mako. Like, it's both Mako and Inkblot are like,
Yeah.
you're gonna see this no matter which tournament you go to.
Well, especially like, I don't know if you ever watch like low inks or stuff like that. Obviously, there's not a ton for you to learn from them, but they're interesting. But it's usually those players' first times getting to do counter picks, and it's always Mako Zones, Inkblot Tower.
I mean, when all you see is Mako Zones, when you watch other players, and I can see where you're coming from.
Surely they must be right. They're all doing it. How could that not work for our team? How could that not be the best choice for our team if every team does it? It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, it just keeps cascading down. It never stops.
Yeah, I don't remember if Little Squid League, which is like I'm gonna get the current divs wrong because I don't remember how many divs there are anymore. But I think it goes through like div 8, div 13 through 8. How are there 13 divs now?
Oh my god, okay, that's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess 14 technically. That's not including X.
Oh, true, even more.
Oh, the scene's grown so much.
Yeah, it is really nice, I gotta say.
It is. I love seeing new faces. How do you feel when you run into somebody that's only played Splatoon 3, though? How does that feel?
I mean, I guess in a way you can say it feels a bit old, but I don't know. It's cool to see that even like so late into the game, like it's still like attracting so many new people. So in a way, it's just like a relief, I would say.
I mean, I definitely don't want to see the scene get smaller.
Exactly. So it's like Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2, they're definitely like very cool in themselves, and it's nice to see the people that did try it because it's very fun.
Yes.
But it's just good to see that it's just growing as well.
I'm glad that the incentive in Splatoon 3 hasn't been to play Junior for forever, which is great. As somebody that played Junior for 5 years without thinking about it.
I do remember in Splatoon 2 we actually had some quad Junior like comps as well at some point or something.
Yeah, that was Lily and Rissa usually were on those pickups, and then a couple other players out of memory. But Lily and Rissa are the ones that stick out in my head there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go with these combos without getting Lily, at least.
Well, it's hard to talk about Junior without talking about Lily or Rissa. They both continued playing it into 3 to give them full credit there.
Oh, wow.
I dropped...
Yeah, they're really committed.
I got sick of it at the end of Splatoon 2 and haven't had a main since. Almost Slosher. I think I might have almost committed to Slosher now. It's only taken multiple years.
Had to recover a bit from the Junior trauma all the way.
Yeah, I even enjoyed it for a long time, which is the confusing part. Junior, I think, gaslights you into loving it while you play it, because when you get to have 2 bombs, it feels good.
It does. I honestly, there's a lot of things to like about it. Even not even the double bomb, but also like the Kensa Junior with the bubble.
Oh, the Kensa Junior was so fun. Instapop was so fun. Kensa Junior was outclassed by Squeezer in so many ways, but also it felt better to get your bubble pop because you had to work harder for it.
Yeah, I remember the combo being very finicky for it.
Yeah, I think you needed the torpedo to lock onto someone out of memory, but I could be wrong there. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, because I think it uses the explosion then.
Yeah, it needed both of them. I also remember the tiny period in Splatoon 2 where Kunder was meta and Sendo's horrific outfit for it.
Oh, don't remind me. Well, there's some things I'll never forget about the game, and then Sendo's outfits is definitely one of them.
And the tent shield killing you?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we don't see a ton of tent. I like when it comes out. I'm glad it's never been like a staple weapon, because I just don't need to see that many of them. 1 team running it, fun, exciting, spicy. 2 teams, lost interest.
I mean, it was fun. I'll admit. Sendo's a cool guy too, but man, yeah,
Sendo
there's some
is
not. It gave me some nightmares. I'll admit.
Sendo has done so much for the community. I am always in awe at how much he has done.
True. He's actually crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know how he does it.
I don't either. I just show up and commentate. I just show up and say fun words. I don't even play. Well, I want to go back to playing more comp, uh, but master's degree gets in the way of that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, soon hopefully. Winter break will come, and then if I find a team, it's easy enough to get back into playing. It's just playing as an FA when your schedule is inconsistent is a journey of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's already hard to like put so much time into Splatoon from the beginning, especially when you have stuff like that going on.
Yes, absolutely. So to move on to a new question, what drew you to the overfishing side of things? We talked about this a tiny bit before we got started, but you're like the only Western top player that's really ever crossed over into that.
Yes. Yeah, it's not too common because yeah, you do see at least in the Japanese side players like Azu and Shelton that switched over from well, not switched over, but also did both PvP and now also Samurai. And for me, well, I guess it's more just the complexity as a whole. Because I remember like playing Samurai at the start when it came out, Splatoon 2, and it was fun, but I pretty quickly stopped with it.
Yeah.
But eventually, like I discovered like the more like overfishing community side of it, which like really pushes the mode to the limit, and I realized like, whoa, there's actually a lot going on here. And that I would say is like the biggest like improvement from Samurai when it got from Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
The complexity of it, like it improved in such a good way.
Yeah.
Like it really pushed the limit on its mode, which is really nice.
Yeah, it had so many really great changes. I pretty much never touched Salmon in Splatoon 2. I don't play it a ton in 3, but I play it way more than I ever even considered playing it in 2.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand because it's. I mean, already in Splatoon 2, obviously, like you have to know what you're doing when you're doing overfishing. But even, especially now, I think it's the case that if your basic movements and execution aren't like at like the very top level already, then you'll not do as good as the top players. Like
Yeah.
this game is pushing the limits so much now; it's really cool.
Yeah, whenever I see you, I every once in a while will go through and watch the overfishing videos you put up, and every time I'm like, and it's usually like a good few months between my watches of them, and it's always like, oh wow, the execution has gotten even higher. Horrifying. How have we done that? How has the community done that? How have you guys as a group done that? That's wild.
Yeah, it's still surprising me even today. And I guess that also kind of contributes to how like players like Shelton and Azu or like others, for example, when they switch to PvP, from PvP to Samurai, they already do so well there. I think it's just the fact that they already have such a fundamental like top movement and execution that really like helps get a like foundation in Samurai.
Absolutely. It definitely something I've always wondered is do you feel like Salmon Run has helped you with comp or do you feel like vice versa or a little both?
Uh, well, it's definitely the case that PvP has helped me a lot in Samurai.
Mhm.
Not just in like I said like execution, but I think also just from like a mindset point of view, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because like I said, when I started up Splatoon 1, like I've gone through that entire cycle of like, yo, this game is fun. Let me just play a lot. Uh, until eventually now today being more like yeah a competitive mindset where
Mhm.
I focus more on to win. And
Yes.
having gone through that cycle already before switching to Samron, like it made it a lot faster to like try and understand like what do I need to do here to like see like do well.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It definitely I am always overwhelmed by the amount of information overfishers have gathered on Salmon Run. Because like don't get me wrong, comp players have strategy, but it's nothing like looking at overfishing strategy.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic because like in PvP, it's like the way you play, it's very I guess like reactive in a way. Like you gotta react
Mhm.
very fast to how everything changes. Whereas in Samron, it's more like a like information overload. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, like a lot of enemies, and you gotta like learn how to dissect it and also like understand like you can make 50 decisions. Like which of the 50 decisions do you take?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And also, I assume there's some level of reaction in terms of what the game throws at you and knowing, and then the information overload of how do I deal with this specific group of enemies? What do I prioritize?
Yeah, in a way, at some point you do start getting more like I guess standard like well, if you play with a pickup in Samurón, like it's pretty common knowledge what like how people would approach a certain situation.
Hmm,
But like there's like that's the thing. There's so many variations of it that it gets very complex very fast.
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've seen that you've had some pretty great overfishing results. Do you have any that you are particularly proud of? Or is it just you're very proud of them in general?
And by far, I guess the biggest one is the getting top three in extra work.
Yeah.
Because yeah, extra work for those who don't know is like it's where you play for the same seats, where you do the same wave over and over and just get the highest score. And overall, like you see Japan getting top three pretty much every time, and we so far been the only team to ever get into the top three.
That is wild and kind of like kind of makes sense considering your record of being the only Western team to win a Platinum Cup also kind of falls into that same line a little bit.
Yeah, in a way, but I of course like my teammates are insane too. I
Of
gotta say, like,
course. Of
uh,
course. It's never just one player in Splatoon ever.
yeah, and I gotta say like that's also I guess the nice thing is I mean we already talked about it earlier, but like the Splatoon community is very like it's very friendly.
Yeah.
But I think even more so in overfishing, like if you want to just play with a top player, like 90% of top players will just say yes.
Wow.
It's not really, I think, necessary to really grow because you can learn a lot from just freelance and just playing with similar people. But it just really opens it up to like learn if you really desire so.
Would you recommend to people maybe having a hard time finding a team in comp or maybe just a little sick of comp to look into overfishing?
Hmm, I guess so. It's hard to answer because
That's
it
fair.
depends it depends per person if say Summer Run is your thing. But it is true that there's I mean there's a lot going on in Summer Run, and like I said, if you're like the I guess the biggest thing for Summer Run that's really cool is in PvP like you of course like you focus more on specific weapons, and the fun thing about Summer Run is you gotta master basically every weapon in the game. Like that's just
Yeah.
you can't. It's crazy.
It's that's always been the most intimidating thing about watching overfishing in general to me. It's like, "Oh, all of them. You guys just know how to play all of them? Just all of them. That's wild. No specializing, just all. Just what can
Yeah,
you play? Yes."
I mean, it might sound daunting at first because I, especially for probably PvP people, oh my god, PvP people, oh my, they probably notice that when you switch from like say one weapon to another, it's pretty tricky. But once you like do that process for more and more weapons, like it gets easier the more you do it.
Hmm.
Because I think what kind of happens is like when you play a weapon for the first time, you kind of just know how to play it just because you did the thing like a million times. But
Yeah.
when you start playing more and more weapons, you kind of start to understand how they work more fundamentally rather than just from experience.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made there that actually can be flipped back onto comp very easily of you see like specialists often not know exactly what their weapon is necessarily doing. They just know that's what they do with it. They don't always know the why, especially outside of like top level. In top level, they know the why. But if you're looking in mid level, even high level, they don't always, which is a really interesting dynamic because you'll find flex players that are like, I know why every weapon does what it does. But the specialists are just like, I play this. I pointed at things. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly, and I know how it feels because I grinded charter for a long time too, and it just worked. That's all I know. Oh yeah, now it's different, of course, but yeah, back then Splatoon 1, it was a different story.
Yeah. Uh, Let me think. So one of my personal interests, because it was a narrative that was pushed for a while, if you were just watching tournaments and not actually in the comp scene, was Kraken Paradise versus Ghost Gaming. So do you ever think back on those days?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's always was a fun matchup. Not only because like I know a lot of people from Capcom Paradise, of course, like they're all
Mhm.
very cool people. So just playing against them was fun already, just simply because of that. But I don't know. I guess there's something like when I watch tournaments myself too. Like it's always cool to see like teams that you know really well
Yeah.
just fight each other, and especially when there's like such a intense like matchup between the two, like it makes it very interesting.
Yeah, when it was every grand finals for a while was the two of those two, when it was Ghost Gaming and Kraken Paradise, and nearly every finals for a while there.
Yeah, it was very intense, but in a good way.
Yeah, it seemed very fun. I watched I am a person that actually doesn't usually watch the tournament streams and doesn't always listen to commentators. Don't know what that says about me as a commentator. I choose not to worry about it.
But
But I would watch your perspective of those usually because I liked you were on Charger, so I could see the most of the map all the time. uh, and it was always really cool. And I am the only person in the world that likes Stingray, so bear that in mind.
oh yeah, you're gonna make some enemies with that.
Oh, I know, I've made them. But I always loved seeing the Ray battles between you and Kaji because it was so interesting, especially
Oh,
because Kaji was on Splatling all the time, which is such a nightmare of a matchup into Charger.
yeah. Even and I gotta say, even the Stingray, like they were such a mind game sometimes as well. It's insane.
I will say, out of memory, I remember that you would hit a lot of your shots, and then when you had Ray out, Kaji would have it out too, and Kaji was just a little faster with it out of memory a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's so much going on with it, like
Yeah,
the speeds, like where you stand when you like. They were cool battles.
they
I
were.
will say Stingray was not my favorite. I would have rather had different specials, but at least the dynamic between like Ray and the other backline from the other map is really fun.
It was.
It's pretty cool.
It was good content to watch also. Like that's a part people kind of ignore. Like a lot of other specials less flashy.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me a lot of like Mori Towers, where at the start of the match you always have like the charter facing off each other, but
Yeah.
now it's happening on every map. It's just the Stingray instead.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always I am not the biggest fan of Chargers now. I think they are neat. I'm glad they are not, well, Pencil. Pencil ruins my argument that they're not that good right now, but Pencil's its own category in my head.
Hmm.
But I'm glad they're not the most commonly used right now. I don't think they are good for the competitive scene. I don't think they are healthy for it always. But watching Chargers hit cool shots, not much better.
Honestly, I feel both arguments so much because as someone who plays charter, yeah, it feels so fun to use. But at the same time, as someone who played like Carbon, Sploosh, whatever, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, it's like it slows the game down so much. I'm like, why get this thing over here?
Oh, we completely forgot to talk about Sploosh when you talked about weapons you've played. Yeah, you were like the one
Oh, true.
top
Yeah.
Sploosh player for a while in the West. I think like the only one usually.
Well, I should mention there were quite a lot of push players, like especially like Nex was a good example. Like I
Hmm.
think he was really insane too.
I do
So
remember Nex. Yes.
nice, yeah. So
Australian,
when it comes
right?
to yes, exactly, that's him.
Yeah.
So when it comes to top player or the best player, I'm not sure if that's true, but yeah, I played it quite a lot in tournaments, which honestly it was one of the most fun one to use. I'll admit.
Out of memory, you would switch from Explode to Sploosh, which was an which was a funny dynamic to watch as an outsider.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, especially looking back at it now. But
I mean, it
I know,
was.
I guess it's just. Oh, sorry.
I mean, it worked pretty well.
Yeah, and in a way, I guess it kind of comes back to what I mentioned earlier, where it's like once you start on like looking at weapons from how they work more
Mhm.
fundamentally, it starts making more sense. So I know it's very rich, but it
No, no, it makes
eventually,
sense.
yeah, eventually it starts to like click in your head.
No, no, I get it. I am very because of commentating, I'm very used to looking at the game through a pretty zoomed out lens and seeing, oh,
Hmm.
these weapons more are aiming to do this and this is how they function rather than going, this weapon has short range and just kind of ending the thought there.
I mean, the short range made it a really fun aspect. I gotta say,
Yeah.
like just understanding how to like hide your information and also about how to position it was very cool.
Well, and the movement on lightweight shooters also just always, it's so crisp. It feels so good.
Oh, yes, and then especially when you pull out the hammer and you got to
Hmm.
do 180 order or whatever to get someone. Oh, yes.
I also remember, not that Rainmaker gets played that much anymore, but I do remember you were one of the players that made people really go, oh, we have to paint everything around the Rainmaker.
Yeah, I mean, already Spooks players, like I think, kind of have a reputation of being like rare players.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta be careful. Make sure you don't leave it behind.
I feel like I'm remembering a specific thing from a Black Belly map. Uh, but Black Belly Rainmaker also just had a lot of unique tournament moments due to it being
Uh,
itself.
uh, yes, Black Belly. Let's not talk about the whole. Let's put 10 walls down on the map either. There's a lot that happened on
Oh,
Black Belly.
yeah, Black Belly sure has had a lot of interesting eras.
It actually surprisingly ended well. It was actually a pretty fun map to play on overall, but man, has it gone through a journey.
It sure has. I think that I wouldn't have been that mad if it came back to Splatoon 3, because it could be so exciting. That feels like a good word for it. Exciting. It was, the game was never over on Black Belly until it was fully over.
Yeah, honestly, when looking back at it, there's a lot of like fun memories I have from Black Belly. As weird and strange that map was sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a map anyone was like ever wanting to see in the moment back then. Maybe not anybody. I'm sure there were people that enjoyed playing it. I'm mostly thinking of Rainmaker on it because it was. We also played Zones on it. That's true. Zones and Rainmaker were played on it. Less so Zones. Mostly Rainmaker. And my God, the Rainmaker
Oh,
pushes on that map were something else.
oh my god! I just remembered we might have even seen this, but I remember like we played Rainmaker Black Belly with Ghost Gaming, and I think we even at some points had like a 0-0 kill game, and we still won. You can probably find it somewhere, but this has never
Probably.
happened before. But on Rainmaker Black Belly, we actually won the game with neither our team or the opponent's team getting a single kill.
The likelihood of neither you or Dude having posted that seems very low. I'm sure that is out there.
I can probably find it if you after this, but
Oh my
it
God.
was I don't know. That was
Black Belly was a map of all time.
I still wonder how that even happened, but I guess it just did. That's just
I mean, I don't think checkpoints could have even fixed Black Belly. I don't think checkpoints would have even made that much of a difference there.
yeah. I mean, the final version was a lot better, but
It was
some of the other
so
ones,
open though.
yeah.
Like it was better. I liked it way more. I didn't miss the giant hill in the middle of the map. I was grateful it was gone. As everyone should have been, to be clear. I am
I
anti
just
giant hill on Black Belly.
yeah, that's good because. But yeah, I see your struggles because yeah, I just feel that's like once you get the hang of Black Belly, which people were getting later on, I
Oh
think like
yeah.
it just started getting so hard to get pieces going sometimes too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very much a you get one really big push or nobody pushes at all.
Yeah, and the Stingray doesn't make it easier too.
No, and that was also in double missile era.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh God, I learned to commentate in the missile ray armor era of Splatoon 2. What a I'm glad no, nobody enjoyed it. I can't say I'm glad for anything about that meta. I wanted to be. I was trying to be nice to it. I actually kind of enjoyed it, but I was wrong to enjoy it.
Oh,
Um,
that's
here's the one good thing I can say about it. It really incentivized paying attention to your teammates.
honestly, it is all coming from a Stingray advocate. I guess that's a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any specific thoughts on that era? Because it lasted a while.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I just forgot most of it. Not gonna lie.
No, that's for the best, I think. There wasn't much interesting about it.
Like I've seen some. I remember seeing some crazy games with just like 20 missiles per game and whatever that kind of stuff. That's being
Oh,
the
the
most.
jet squelchers.
Yeah. That's about as far as it goes. It
Yeah,
was wild.
that's about all there is to remember about that. I think it incentivized you to know when your teammates had their specials, and it came down to who played the formula better.
Yeah, because I mean, other than that, there wasn't much else going on
No,
the field. So
no. Do you have a favorite meta from any of the Splatoon games?
ooh, that's a hard one. There's been so many metas at this point.
There have been.
Um, I mean, one of the craziest one was for sure when they had to freaking nerf aerospace. That was a wild time to look back on to think that even happened. But
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
I mean, I can imagine. But the most fun one, I don't know. Like it's hard for me, I think, especially because I think even when the meta is kind of just boring for a lot of people, at least personally, I still like. I just enjoy the base game so much
Yeah.
that I don't really mind it too much. So
No,
if I gotta just stay away like every start of the game, then I'll just do it. I don't really mind too much.
that's fair.
Um, like so, even if even though I would join like a certain meta more, like just compared like the game as by itself is already like so fun to me that it doesn't make that much of a difference, I guess.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I care more about the meta as a commentator than I do as a player by a long shot.
Yeah, it makes sense. It would definitely be nice to see though some changes, especially in Splatoon 3 now, I would say. But yeah, even without it, it's still fun to me. So
Yeah, I
that's the
think,
main thing.
you know, what I will give this is at least it's not the end of Splatoon 2 meta. Um, at least there can be fun, exciting, super flashy moments more often, which from a commentator perspective, I look for and look forward to because hype moments in tournaments are very fun.
Yeah, exactly. As static as things might be right now, at least the current meta is very like energetic, I guess, or how you want
Yeah,
to call
it's
it.
not 2K, it's not four shooters. It's not four shooters staring at each other sometimes and mostly getting their specials.
Yeah, it's a whole world of difference.
It is. Like, I get why people complain about it, absolutely. But then I remember back to Triple Crab at the start of the game, or the end of Splatoon 2, and I go, no, actually, this is okay. I can cope with this. This is fine.
Yeah, they're definitely not the worst to spend a long time on.
Yeah, the one time I got to commentate for Nintendo, it was Triple Crab Machine meta, and it was.
Oh, during that, oh boy.
Which, like, it was fine. It was still an amazing opportunity. I still loved commentating it. I still had an incredible time. But, my god, that was enough crabs.
Yeah, I remember even myself, I would just pick Splash during games, even though I'm usually like an anchor player. I was like, whatever. We're
Well,
all doing crap now, I guess.
I mean, if you have crab, you might as well be an anchor. That's it's
just get just get 10 craps per game and stay in the back.
yeah. Then you get a Splatling and Explo in one. It's great.
Oh, what a game.
I do like crab as a special. I am glad it is in its current state, though.
Honestly, I remember playing the Splatfest test fire, and I remember playing crap. I was like, yo, this is so fun. I guess a little bit,
It was too fun.
maybe, yeah, maybe not the good signal for what came after that, but yeah, it's a cool special if you ignore the whole triple crap that came
Yeah, if
after
you
that.
forget the start of the game, it's now a very genuinely well balanced, fun special. I think they did successfully balance crab without gutting it, which is
Yeah,
impressive.
it's actually in a pretty good spot yeah right now.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few specials they've ever actually got the tuning on just about right after it being super overpowered.
Yeah, and especially given the ults can do it, it's
Yeah,
not an easy one to balance, I think.
yeah. I'm glad it is still a high, like not a top tier special, but it's definitely up there. You don't turn it down if somebody says, "Can I play Splash or Dually?" You're not
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
go, "No." It's been interesting to see VDS have a tiny bit of a comeback right now.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it a little bit, but even in top JP like tournaments, and I'm mostly such a fan of Scalzies because I think the movement that comes with it is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're very unique.
Yeah, I feel like the meta is a bit limited for Scalzies to make work sometimes, but I played a few times myself in Splatoon 2 as well, and it had its moments, but not as much as other weapons, of course. But
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it come back more because the weapon itself, it feels, especially in Splatoon 3 now, like it feels very fitting in the whole playstyle.
Yeah, the movement of it really makes sense with all the new movement options in 3. I say new. Splatoon 3's been out for multiple years.
Sure.
New to me.
Well, as someone who's played Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1, yeah, it's a different story.
Yeah, I didn't play a ton of Splatoon 1, but I have been playing since Splatoon 1. I actually got my Wii U to play Xenoblade X and happened to get the model that had Smash and Splatoon on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So obviously I'm excited about the Xenoblade export that's coming.
It is one of the games I haven't played, but I heard good stuff.
I mean, I never fully finished it because I got annoyed with the text size being too small and not having a way to change it. So I'm hoping they fix that.
Oh, that's another complaint you hear often.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a surprise to hear. That's not really like
I mean, it's
usually you would. Oh, sorry.
I mean, yeah, very not accessible. And I'm not somebody that has like vision problems. So it was just very tiny text.
Yeah, like that seems like one of the things that people would usually get right. So that's a bit surprising.
Yeah, at least add the option to make it bigger. I will give Splatoon 3 and the Splatoon games in general a lot of credit for how accessible they are, for how bright and overwhelming they are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think about it too much because I'm not much of a like designer or artist at all. Like, don't ask me to draw, please. Let's just put it out there already.
Okay.
But like I can imagine it must be such a challenge to like balance all the colors in such a game.
I mean, we saw them
Like,
struggle with it once, with Splatter
oh,
Screen.
yeah, I do remember that very well.
Yeah, it seems like most people are okay with where it's at now. I think it's allowed in most tournaments these days.
Yeah, and it's even nice to see that like they're changing stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, as much as the Splatoon devs make mistakes, they do. I feel like they do care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's very easy to do because like the game looks very well.
Hmm.
But I must imagine it must be so hard to get this right.
Yeah, I can't imagine how hard it is. And like, yeah, I think they've now finally split the development from Animal Crossing, which is good. I think they're separate development teams now. So there's actually a chance for next Switch
Oh,
to have pretty early Animal Crossing and Splatoon, which would be cool as a person that has traditionally liked Animal Crossing games and obviously cares at least a little about Splatoon.
yeah. From what I've seen, there's quite a bit of overlap actually between the two games.
Yeah, they
Uh,
were the same. Nagami led both for a while.
oh, yeah. I do. I'm not much of an Animal Crossing player myself, but I did get the new one, which was I do remember hearing as well, like the studios being the same.
Yeah, I mean it's the new one is very different than the old ones. I choose mentally to view it as a different game because the goals are very different, but I still think it was well made and fun.
Ah, okay, interesting. Because yeah, like I said, I'm not an Animal Crossing player myself, so I didn't know.
Yeah, they used to be way more focused around just talking to your villagers, which it's not that the new one disincentivized that, but it's definitely less of a focus
Okay, interesting.
because you can like fully design your island and stuff. And in the old ones, it was like you can decorate your house and plant flowers. You want to control the way your town looks? Ridiculous.
Oh, really? Oh, because yeah, like I remember in the new Animal Crossing, like I've seen people go crazy with their island.
Yeah, no, the stuff people Animal Crossing players are I'd say since New Leaf that's been more of a thing, so the 3DS game. Um
Hmm.
but back in like Wild World for the DS, the original GameCube, I've obviously played a normal amount of Animal Crossing and didn't start playing it when I was 6 years old, clearly. Um uh, but back in like Wild World, City Folk, and the GameCube one, especially, it was a lot of talk to your villagers, plant some flowers, donate to your museum, and that's about it.
Hmm.
Which I enjoyed. I can understand why they made a change in direction, though. It leans very much into like more of like the Sims kind of thing, where you can decorate everything and control how everything looks, which is fun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't speak for it too much myself because I'm not a veteran player at all, but it was enjoyable. This one also.
Yeah, I think also the time it came out, I would have enjoyed any Animal Crossing game that came out at that time,
Sure.
probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, to move on to what will probably be our last question here. Uh, do you have any current competitive goals?
Hmm. Okay, that's an interesting one. Um. So when it comes to competitive goals, like I guess my background plays a big role as it does with many people.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So to explain a bit better, because well, if you see my name, you probably know I'm a musician myself.
Mm-hmm.
I play the drums, or I would have guessed.
Wow, really?
Yeah, well, I don't know. What a shock.
Truly couldn't have guessed it.
But yeah, so I've been doing that for a while, and like one thing that you really like learn from like playing music is that it's really a craft you do for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're really just pushing your own limits just for your own sake. Like I'm not trying to be a better drummer for someone else. I'm just only like trying
Yeah.
to be a better drummer just for own enjoyment.
I used
And oh, sorry.
uh I used to ride horses competitively, and it's a very similar thought process of, no, I'm not worried about beating the other people. I just want to do better than I did last time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think the thing that helped me a lot is, at least for my competitive goals, is I think that carried over to Splatoon
Mm,
in a way that it might have been different when I was a casual, but especially today, like my goal is more simply to win.
fair.
Because I think quite often you'll see like people they want to be like the best charter or like the best Western player or that kind of stuff. But for me, like I think especially my background in music has helped me to really focus on just my goal is simply to win the game. I don't care if people think what I do looks impressive or that kind of stuff. I really want to just do what I can to like give my team the best shot at the victory.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a really good goal. Kyo actually stated a pretty similar thing, actually. I think there was
Yeah,
also a
and
bit of being the best with Kyo, but
it makes sense. But I should mention too, like it is easier said than done.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
as easy as it is to say, like, oh, I should just focus on winning. I shouldn't care about getting tilted about other unrelated stuff or that kind of thing. Like it's the getting into that kind of mindset is it takes a whole challenge on its own.
Hmm.
And I think that's why for me, like having the background in music helped with that because it really like made me focus on just like pushing myself for my own like joy, basically.
Yeah. And this is more of a question driven out of my own curiosity. Uh, are you ever going to look for another like set team, or is it too hard with how Nintendo of Europe has structured the European scene?
Well, I guess if we're talking about competitive goals, I guess that's one of them. Because yeah, I do want to definitely get a team because it definitely makes it a lot more fun, more consistent to like try and get
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
So yeah, main competitive goals to just win, and I guess the
Yeah.
second one is right after you get a team going because
That makes
it is a
sense.
bit, it is a bit weird, and it doesn't help either when you're not either French or German.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't know why they had like it's so interesting to me that that's how Nintendo of Europe has structured things, and I know it's just because of how different all the laws in European countries are. But it's funny to me because like Mexico, Canada, the U.S., you can make one team.
yeah, it's a bit of a surprise.
It feels very uneven for the Nintendo tournaments to me, which is frustrating, but understandable.
Yeah. So it's I mean it's a good thing I enjoy the game as much as I do
Yeah,
because if it wasn't for that I don't think I would be pushing it still today because it
probably
is definitely
not.
difficult to get a team going. But yeah, it is still a goal and I'm definitely still trying it.
Yeah, good for Germany and France, I guess. Good for them.
Yeah.
They have, to be fair, it is just so unbalanced with like FT Win usually had at least one or two Canadian players along with the US players. Like a lot of the NA teams have been multinational, and that doesn't seem fair, but such is life.
Yeah, and it doesn't help either when you compare my tiny country to already France or even USA. It's
Yeah, especially not to the US.
you can barely see it on the map sometimes, so yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, Canada doesn't add that many people, I guess, compared to what the US adds.
Oh yeah, I'm sure like the especially the northern part of Canada is probably like not
Northern
a lot of
part, from
people.
what I understand, very sparse. Probably need to learn more about Canada since I don't think I'm aiming to go back to the US anytime soon.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Oh well. That's what it is. I try not to think about it too much. But yeah. Anything else you'd want to say?
Um, I don't know. That's I think that this pretty much those are good questions. It was fun to talk.
Thank you. I try. um, but yeah, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Where can people find you? I think they'll probably
Uh,
know already, but where can people find you?
oh yeah, if it's someone wasn't clear already, you can find me as Brian the Drummer. Yeah, Blue Sky nowadays, YouTube, everywhere it goes by the same name except for Twitter because then it's one M instead of two M's.
But the new cat photo got posted on Blue Sky, so that's what matters.
True. If you want to see, I'll probably put more cat pictures on Blue Sky. So if you want to see more cat pictures, go to my Blue Sky.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we're going to end it for now. Thank you so much.